Ladies and gentlemen, we have a trade. The Minnesota Twins have acquired outfielder Manuel Margot, formerly of the Rays, acquiring him from the Dodgers, where he'd been traded earlier this offseason. They're acquiring him and a minor league prospect for minor league prospect Noah Miller, formerly a supplemental first round pick of theirs out of Wisconsin. So Manuel Margot, not really a name that I'd figured to be available since he'd been already traded once. But as soon as the Dodgers, this deal kind of got out in the open, it was announced that the Dodgers are signing Kike Hernandez, who was apparently considering signing with the Twins. So the Twins had been named a finalist for him. So instead of that, the Dodgers trade Margot to the Twins and they sign Hernandez. I think I prefer Margot to Kike Hernandez. I actually think I prefer Margot to Michael A. Taylor. Actually, it was another guy I think a lot of people were hoping would come back. And this is in a small way, kind of and in addition to some of the other moves, really reshaping the look and feel of the Twins lineup. And I'll explain that a little bit more later. We're not really expecting Margot to be an everyday guy. But this team has a lot of platoon pieces, which Margot does factor into. This team has a lot of guys with a lot of big league experience and who have skill sets that complement other guys. I think that's the biggest thing with Margot and why the Twins targeted him. I think he is more valuable to the Twins than he would be on a lot of other teams because he fits in magnificently with the rest of what the Twins have going on. I love this fit. Absolutely. The trade, I'm probably as one of the biggest Noah Miller guys you can find, even though I've had to be really honest with myself when ranking him. I've slid him far down my prospect rankings, so it's not like I still hold him to a very high prospect status, but I just really, really have enjoyed watching Noah Miller in the minor leagues and a phenomenally smooth shortstop, which is so rare to see, especially in the minor leagues. It's just been a joy to watch down there. So I'm sad to see him go. So this trade isn't like some kind of a complete slam dunk for me. The Manuel Margot's contract, is getting paid down. He's supposed to make $10 million this year, but the Twins will only have to be paying $5 million of that for this year. So that's another element to this deal and his contract to keep in mind. So I like that too, especially with how constrained the Twins are right now. Certainly a factor to keep in mind. And just to sort of wrap up the brief overview on all of the pieces, Rayne Doncon is a guy in the Dodgers system, 20 years old from the Dominican, had been getting some prospect steam in some circles prior to last year where he kind of fell on his face in A-ball. So kind of a piece. He's an infielder, so he's a piece to bring into the system. So they're kind of replacing Noah Miller in a way in the minor leagues. I won't have him ranked as high as Miller, but he's someone who is interesting. He's not just a complete non-prospect. We're going to hope that he rebuilds his stock after a tough season, but not a huge piece there. Margot is clearly the big piece. And again, I love the way he fits into the Twins. He is a right-handed hitter who is a phenomenal defensive corner outfielder and plays center field. He used to be also a phenomenal center fielder defensively. Now is just sort of more workable out there. Hasn't played there as often of late. But Margot certainly expect him to be part of that Buxton insurance picture. He also hits lefties pretty well, much better than he hits righties. You look at his stat lines over the years, it's not much to look at. Again, a lot of his value is coming defensively, but does hit lefties much better. I think it's like a 760 OPS for his career against left-handed pitching, with which a lot of that is coming from the batting average and the on-base percentage. This isn't a guy with a lot of power. So that's a nice complementary piece with the Twins when they've got Wallner and Kepler, and even behind them, Larnach's in that left-handed corner outfield picture still. They needed a right-hander to get into that mix. Again, I like this. I think this guy's a better fit, and I like him better than I would have Michael A. Taylor, to be honest. And that's kind of funny because I'm a long ball guy. I'm a power guy. So you would think I would have preferred Taylor. I also think Taylor's a better defensive center fielder than Margot. But there is, at a certain point, the strikeouts get to be too much, even for me. Can't do that. And especially if you're not drawing walks, Michael A. Taylor's on base percentage was sub 300 on top of that. So that was a hard guy to put into the lineup every day. And again, as awesome as he was in the field and as many home runs he hits, some other teams should go out and get him, Michael A. Taylor, and I'll be rooting for him, but didn't really love the idea of him coming back here. So yeah, I like Margot's fit better. A guy who doesn't strike out a lot. That's also true of Carlos Santana. They've gotten rid of a few guys that strike out a lot, and they've added some guys that don't. I don't know if that's a big, shift. And again, I don't think the Twins are going to be like one of the higher contact teams in the league. So they still have guys that are carrying over from last year that strike out a lot. I think that's okay. As long, again, as if you're drawing walks, if you're hitting for power, I'm not going to be too concerned about strikeouts. But if you're not doing one of those two things, it gets to be pretty difficult. And it shows up late in games sometimes. That's another thing. I think Margot fits as a platoon guy against left-handed pitching, a right-handed hitter who's done well against left-handed pitching. I think Margot fits as a late-inning defensive replacement for Matt Wallner, who has gotten so much better defensively, but is still not a very good defensive outfielder, in my opinion. I would feel more comfortable with a guy like Margot out there. Margot also, since he makes a lot of contact and runs well, a late inning base running, a pinch runner sub, and a late inning, you get the bases loaded and you just need somebody to put the ball in play on a drawn-in infield, which Margot has done in the past. Doesn't strike out a lot. So, he's a guy that sort of fits a lot of different things. You could imagine Rocco Baldelli turning to this guy in a lot of different scenarios and situations. The main one being is that he is a right-handed hitting outfielder. That was sort of the main target, I think, in this last piece of the position player group, the bench, the lineup, however you want to put it. I still don't think, fingers crossed, we shouldn't see him a ton. But of course, even with Buxton returning to the outfield, it's not like he's going to play center field literally every day. So they're going to need other guys out there. And injuries always open the doors. And now the Twins are better insulated from pain points there. So I like the trade. Now, would I've maybe preferred the Twins kept Noah Miller and just used $5 million to sign the guy like Kike Hernandez? I didn't see what he signed for, but maybe that would have been preferable to me. But I do think Margot fits in really well. If this was sort of on the table and no plan Bs can be considered, I would say yes, I would have done this trade, even with my Noah Miller love. But, I should call out in the zine, it's not like I'm that high on Noah Miller as a prospect. I do think that he's likely to not make it to the major leagues. You see, I had him as my number 32 prospect for this zine here. But something I did call out, this guy is only entering his age 21 season, so he could be developing more physically still. There's obviously no questions about the glove. Noah Miller, minor league gold glove winner at shortstop this past season, a tremendous defensive shortstop. So the only question is with the bat. And something I pointed out in the zine is that he did post a 794 OPS over his final 41 games. That's a pretty significant number of games, 41 games with a 794 OPS. So he has started to hit at the end of last year. Had a nice postseason as well for Cedar Rapids en route to a Midwest League championship. Definitely one of the leaders on that team was Noah Miller, a guy who was out there every day for them. I just really enjoyed watching him. I'm going to miss seeing him. If you're not familiar with the channel here, we do a minor league recap every day. So even the guys down in the minors who we're not super invested in, we're watching all the time, even not the top prospects. And even on the nights I wasn't sharing Miller highlights, it was just nice to see him gliding through the infield and making every play imaginable pretty much at shortstop. So I'll miss him there. I would not say that he's likely to be a major leaguer. I don't think he's going to hit enough. And even if he does, it'll probably be more like a second division major leaguer. So you're not going to beat yourself up over that too much, but I don't think it's a complete slam dunk that he's not going to be a major leaguer. If the bat comes along, he's definitely going to make it because the glove is major league caliber easily. That clears. So we'll see. I don't suspect this is going to come back to bite the Twins, but I'm slumping a little bit from it, as you may be able to tell me talking about Noah Miller, how much I like him. But again, I think Margot is such a nice fit. And then to get another minor leaguer does kind of offset that some. So those are my thoughts there. Let me know what you think about this trade and what you'd like to see come next for the Twins. I guess that's another good call out. The teams are still making trades. Teams are still kind of putting the finishing touches on their seasons. This may not be the final trade the Twins make. We'll have to kind of wait and see what happens. But thanks for checking this one out. We'll talk again soon.